welcome everyone for coming to the Technology Lunch and Learn session on SAGE research methods. You all are going to hopefully come away with information that's not going to only help you personally in your research endeavors, but also if you're working with students who are doing research. This is a great resource for them. And Karen Reed, our library liaison, has graciously agreed to come and tell us about SAGE research methods and ways that we can use this. And this is informal, so if there are questions, please feel free. She's going to be working mostly from the back there where she has access to her laptop and navigating, so we can be watching the screen. So again, don't hesitate to ask questions, engage. This will last right about an hour, right? Sure. Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. So everyone with a device, have you logged in and got to the library website? Okay, great. Well, I'm going to start it from ground zero. Just as you're looking at the library website, where do you go to get in? So SAGE Research Methods is one of our databases. So you would go to this Databases tab along the top and click on that, and then just alphabetically, so click on the S for SAGE, and right there. We have two listings. We actually have the SAGE Research Methods cases, but those cases pull into SAGE Research Methods. So we'll just roll with SAGE Research Methods itself.
Can you all see that screen okay? I don't know if there's a way to make it larger or not, but if you can see it on your own screen, then I guess that's what's going to be best. But
Do you want me to?
Okay.
can you make it bigger? Yeah, if you don't mind, because I wouldn't mind it being
Oh, you're
bigger.
not in Chrome, are you? You're in Explorer?
I'm in Chrome.
Yeah.
If it's, I mean, we don't want to cut things
I can make
off.
mine bigger. I just can't make it the projector.
No, it will. You could change yours, which will change it a little bit. So that's a little bigger.
That's better.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
How big is the rest? Oh, you gotta give me the.
Oh, I need to log in.
So we go to SAGE Research Methods.
Great. Within the
Oh, each tab will have to have that happen, Karen. So if you're gonna go back and forth,
oh,
in the
okay.
top right, those three dots. If you click on the three dots, they'll have Zoom. Three dots on the far right.
I think
This screen's good to go.
Okay. All right. So if you found SAGE Research Methods in our list of databases, so within the content on the homepage here, they kind of break it out all the ways you can limit as far as the different formats that come back. There is a lot of great video footage, and we'll limit by that. And the cases there, as I talked about with case studies. The only thing I did want to point out, on the homepage it shows the data sets, and it has a little lock symbol next to it. We do not actually subscribe to the data sets through Walker Library. So even though it shows that, by having that little lock there, it means that this is content that we do not have access to. I personally have found a lot of, for the purposes of giving your students data sets to work with, to be able to pull in. There's so much at education.gov that they could pull in that way, because we don't subscribe to that level through Walker Library. So ignore the data set stuff, but we can talk about that later. I can show you some data sets if you want. And then it also shows how you can limit by your discipline. So they do have a limiter here for education, but that's all on the homepage. I'm going to go in and just do a simple search just to show. So if I do a search right off the bat at for just focus groups.
So I want to ask a question, because this is not to find research. We're not going here to look at the literature, right?
Correct.
So we're going here to look at methodologies and processes, is that correct?
Right, so I'm sorry, as teaching faculty and you're wanting to integrate research methods material into your course, this is a place to pull in different content, books and video clips to demonstrate to your students if they don't know what a qualitative method is, or drilling down into that discourse analysis or something like that. These are the topics here. So correct, this is not a place for you to actually conduct your research. It's teaching students how to think about research and the research methodology behind different areas. So So, right, so that's why to put in a term like focus groups, if you're teaching a qualitative methods class and you want some resources to explain to your students what focus groups are, how to conduct them. So I just did that search at the beginning on focus groups. But again, SAGE research methods, it'll pull back everything under the sun, whether we have particular access to that or not. So it's very important as you conduct your search to go along the right-hand side and immediately click that radio button for available to me, so that it does not show you something that you get your heart set on and then you try to click on it and it's locked because we don't have that level of access. So, so I limited, refined by available to me, and along the right it presents all the different ways you can bring back your content. So it shows that data sets is 0 because, like I said, we don't have access to that. But within it, you can click on the plus sign if there's one available. So like within videos, for my topic of focus groups, it comes back so many different types of videos. So if I just wanted kind of like a definition and I wanted to be able to embed that video content into D2L and have students watch a video about focus groups. So first I would click on the plus sign next to video to kind of take all of that off, and then I would click next to definition under video, and then let's see, it should search that. If I'm having you know what? It's because I've got everything here, sorry. I'll click it off and then, so I just wanted a video. I'm having trouble seeing, I'm sorry. Okay, so the only thing I have selected right now is video definition. Why is it not? Oh, because it's available main.
And I found out that there's a number of videos that are locked. And I was asking Mary Ellen Stone about that and the SAGE folks that were with us. And she said if there were enough people that said that they wanted access to this video content, that might be a possibility.
Absolutely, and the same with the data sets. I really wanted the data sets because I think that's important. Students don't have access to data, to begin, to try to manipulate and learn, and but the cost involved. So it really is driven by when I have faculty interest, and when I can say I have 5 faculty, that are emailing me, they want these data sets, or they want that higher access of the videos. We need these things. So then I have more of a leg to stand on. But all right, that was not a good search. Let me.
There's also, it seems like I recall where we can search for different instruments that are used for, say, quantitative or, ways. I know sometimes I'm trying to get at a certain conceptual piece and I'm looking for an instrument that will help me get there. Can you direct us?
Yeah, I got a list. I was gonna, but I mean, within, just to kind of, I just want to point out those limiters on the right and how important it is to select exactly what you want as far, if you are just looking for video content. But we can skip on to that. That would be under research tools at the top. There's something called methods map. And this is really nice for breaking down these terms for students who aren't familiar. And so it has something gigantic like research methods. And then as you click to narrower terms or broader, it moves accordingly. So you would have to pick, do you want quantitative data analysis or do you want qualitative? So if you were looking for an instrument under quantitative, as you click, it's going to narrow down. And this is where I might be able to get into some of those instruments or So if we do statistical package, so it moves accordingly to kind of drill down further and further and further, so that, you know, for instance, with quantitative, they might think, you know, because we teach SPSS heavily, and they might think, well, that's the only, but there is, you know, there are other packages, you know, that are available that do statistical analysis. So it's a good way to acquaint them with the terms. And then as you choose these terms, above you, the way it says view content, so you can actually click on that in blue, and so it's going to come back with all the things we had so on our term of statistical packages, and it'll show you all the content. But again, let's click available to me on the right there before we get going too far, and so it'll pull back you know, the Little Green Books series, and this might be something you might have been looking for. You might want to embed that into your class, so you can create at the top a reading list. You would have to do that by creating a profile first. And then as you go through and find things for your class reading list, you can just click on that blue add to my reading list, and it'll pop that into this ongoing reading list that might be course content for your class. If you're teaching a quantitative methods class and you're trying to build, so that way your students, they can access these. They don't have to go out and buy these books as supplemental readings. You've got them in a reading list that they can get to online.
So now, is this reading list available to them, and they just go to your profile and then they click on your class, whatever specific class is?
Exactly. I'll show you. And in fact, there are people have made reading lists under that research tools, the second one. These are other users who've created reading lists of these materials. So we'll just browse all just to kind of show you one. So this person, Heather Dre, created it probably for a class there. So if you click on it, so your students could search you by name in that reading list, and then they would see all of these materials you've linked in, and then as you go through, if it's something available to us, let's see. Okay, well, that one has a lock on it that I picked, but the ones you know, you would be going by available to me anyway. So, but you would, within that list, because it's available to you, it's going to be available to your students here. So they could click and they could pull up that reading and go through it that way. So that it's an easy way to embed course material online. Other things within research tools, so project planner. So this is nice for students who they haven't had experience in creating their own study yet. So this really does walk them through step by step, you know, from the very nitty gritty of why we do research and, you know, philosophy behind, but things like defining a topic. I know students I see in the library, that can be really hard for them. They take these broad topics that may not be something measurable, or, you know, it's just too broad. So that one, if you can click on it straight from the left-hand side there. Yeah, and they step you through all these different topics. You know, how to identify a good research topic. That's, you know, so there's a lot of content there.
That's great for master's doc students that are needing to. Kathy, this is perfect for the research.
Absolutely, and you can add just that topic itself to your reading list that you already created with your profile, or you can share it through email. Like if you wanted to send that out to your class, but it's probably easier for you all to have a reading list.
So if we teach, you know, more than one course and we want to have reading lists for different courses, we can do that?
Yes, it looked like that when I was in the reading list, it looked like that one professor. It looked like she had, you know, this class, this reading list, and
This is my reading list.
Um,
I see.
So it must be that.
yeah. So that would be a nice thing too. And then, but I wanted to show you. Let's see. Well, I'll finish this out with the research tool. So the last research tool that they show is this Which Stats test. This is nice for students too. So this walks you through step by step. So yeah, like if this, that, you know, go on. So you know, if you, yeah, differences between sets of data, moves you on how many groups. We'll say 2 groups. We'll say paired data and interval and normally distributed,
Decision trees, this would be nice, like, by the way.
and then bam,
check
it's,
this thing.
yeah, says, okay, based on what you said, you need to do a paired samples t-test. So,
When those are resources, the blue, it takes you
Take them
to
to
the
those.
links.
Yep. So that might be, okay, well this is a data set, so it didn't have access, but the other thing,
So if we're noisy enough and we send enough emails saying we want access,
That always,
certain things,
definitely the you know,
squeaky wheel.
Yes.
I can
But-
squeak.
yeah, we would love for you to squeak because I am but a little ant in the library. So if you guys speak up, yes, this is how we get things. So yeah, because I keep running into that data set, but I tell you, if it's a data set, if you just want data sets for your class, I guess, I mean, you guys probably all use the education.gov and to go out there and actually pull by, you know, special education and, you know, and drill down and stuff like that. That could be a nice place too, just to be able to pull back an Excel spreadsheet of, you know, different characters, just to let them play and to learn, you know, within SPSS or to look at that data and think of how would you build, you know, a study based on this available data. So, so anyway, so I mean, yeah, it would be nice to have the data sets, but I think there's workarounds. It's up to you guys. Whatever, you know, if you think we could use that. But those are those 4 research tools. Very, very helpful. So there are different elements within there of what you might want your students to use. I do want to go back to the main, I'm just going to click on the SAGE research methods just to go back. So to do a search on a topic, certainly you could search within the main field or to do an advanced search. I found, you know, sometimes you don't have to put things in quotes, but I found playing around with it that you really do, because if I just typed in focus groups and then added a field of special education. Did a search on that. It really, you know, some databases are a little more intuitive, but SAGE is not. So I had to go back and modify. It was just pulling everything under the sun, and I had to put it in quotes so that it really would just grab special education and not every single thing that said education, which is like 4,000 items or whatever. It came back. So when I did that, and when I refined by available to me, I found some great content, books and handbooks, but definitely come back to.
So those are books that that are available at this library. We can go in and check out, or have our students say this is where you can access these.
Yes, yes, you can link to those through that reading list, or this website is so. All right, I'm trying to take off and do video. I just want to show you how to embed video content in.
So you can embed it like into a PowerPoint or to a website.
Or yeah, like with your like with D2L, if you have a D2L shell, but it, sorry, I don't know why it keeps kicking me back to the, okay. It does not like that search. We will just, it's amazing how things can work in the library, and then let's just browse a discipline. Let's just go to something wide open like browsing education and look that way. Okay. Here's just a nice video. That's all I wanted. It was to just show a video. So if I click on the title of the video, and it will give me the option to embed. You can copy this, the code right here, and you can actually pop that in with D2L, or there's a persistent link. I have personally had better luck with the permalink and getting that to transfer so that you could embed that through your D2L shell, or even just in an email to pop that link in there. It's worked better for me, but it should work both ways. But that way, your students will have that persistent link and they can go straight to the video, and it helps us too in the library with these links. So that way, for our metrics, it's showing that we had this many students download the book this many times or the video this many times, and it helps create a rationale for why we need SAGE research methods, why we need other things that on our wish list of like data sets or some of this expanded video content, things like that. So when you embed the links, and it helps us out a lot too. But
Because you're tracking that, I guess.
we track everything, yes, and all our usage, and yeah, it does help. Let's see, other things, I kind of got off script here, but are there anything, as we're going across, any questions that have popped up, or I wish I could do this, how do I do this?
Donald, you teach research. Do you teach them research
I do online
class?
now.
Online?
So EDS student, but yeah, normally I do teach research class.
So are there things that your students struggle with that we can think
basically,
about?
the difference between qualitative research, they struggle with that. Literature review, they struggle with that. Because with the 6610, the literature review is the project for that particular class, so they struggle with that.
Is there information on how to do a good literature review, for example?
You look.
Yeah, I found it a long time ago. Yeah, I mean, some just basic stuff with 6610 class.
Like writing.
Like writing? Yeah. How do you write? We can even just search the term, literature review.
Here's one where, I mean, it really might help too to have, just additional terms in there to come back, because that's pretty wide. But, I mean, just that first one, what makes a successful literature review, that's something you could add it in to your reading list. This is with that project planner tool. So there were so many good topics under project planner that you could drill down in actual steps. So again, even within the project planner tool, you could add just that little segment. If you don't want the full planner, you just want those topics within it, you could add that to your reading list. But just clicking list right there. Once you're logged in, up here at the top, once you create a profile with that green button and you have your name, and that way your students can search on your reading list and see those topics within there. But Project Planner is excellent. It's so comprehensive, with research design.
I'm thinking about myself, like I tend to, my area is more quantitative than qualitative, and so I've got a qualitative project that I need to work on, and I'm thinking I'm going to use this for myself to make sure I'm doing it right. And as I learn, yeah.
Donald, did you find the one that says reviewing the literature and all that?
Well, there's not one here, but I do know on the regular site, there's one.
There's one
Under
here,
Project Planner, if you go to Project Planner.
Okay.
and it's got the intro, why do I need to do a literature
Okay.
review?
Yeah, I saw that.
Types of
On the
literature.
left, on the left side, yeah. Is that where you clicked on the left side where it said reviewing literature?
And then I just did a search, review of literature at the top, and then clicked available to me, and magic happened. Magic. Yeah, there we go.
What is gray literature? I don't know, what is gray literature? Documentary.
Oh,
This bird, Dr. Bird.
I have a question. It's going to show my age, but in the old day, when we were doing a piece of research and we were starting out, there was a section at the Arizona State Library, there was huge books, and they were instruments that already were identified as rigorous in the field. So if I was going to do a study, and I'm just going back, empathy, what would be a instrument already established to measure empathy? So I pull out the book.
Burroughs, was that called a Burroughs
Thank you. But so when my students, they think everything is, I'll make up a survey.
Yeah.
And well, yeah, but not. So how, is there something there that I could say, this is what an established, this is what they, is there such a piece, Karen? Or would I still go to the library? And I have no problem with books.
Well, there's,
Let me see if Case will do that, but
And I don't, Burroughs isn't on there.
Is
I don't know how
that
to
the
spell
one? But
Burroughs.
there was like in psychology, education,
Yeah.
law. Ooh.
I'll look for that too.
there's, we have another database, the Mental Measurements Yearbook with tests and print. That's a very helpful one too, that you can search on. I know I used it, I needed one on leadership.
But that would, but Karen, we wouldn't do that through this. We go through somewhere.
Right. That's a whole other database, the mental measurements. But well, no, they had let's see they had Encyclopedia of Measurement and Statistics. So I don't know. I haven't played in that one to know if they.
Yes, so I just typed in self-efficacy survey, because if we're using, the sense of efficacy scale, to see if that would come up, but it's giving me resources on
Articles.
survey methods and whatnot. So it's broader, it's leading you to these places to go, but there are resources.
Okay.
But I want access to that too, because, I want to study empathy. What would be let me look at this tool and see the context in which it would be useful in, and it's been,
Well, that is, so back under the databases, under M, the Mental Measurements Yearbook, that's a really excellent one. So I am curious for empathy, and it won't be the instrument itself, it'll be more of a descriptor usually. So then you can actually go to the vendor or provider of that instrument and order it from them. But that's an excellent point. It's very closely related, and students, like you said, they think they have to reinvent the wheel and start something from scratch instead of buying one. We don't have instruments in curriculum collection currently. It's something I've considered when I talk to colleagues at other institutions who run curriculum material centers, and I've kicked it around with them. There's pluses and minuses to it. I know you all, the education department, buys a lot of these. Within my literacy studies program, they were, to buy the CTOP or to buy, other instruments to measure literacy. As the librarian, I like to give you all access to it, but there's a lot of considerations. If we don't get back all of those pieces, if we don't receive back the examiner manual, perhaps, if a student has checked this instrument out and they don't bring back, the test is dead, and these tests are really expensive. Or the idea, you're not supposed to usually to photocopy the examiner test sheets. You're supposed to pay for the original test sheet, so that would be, and students don't understand, well, why can't I just photocopy the CTOP, the little test out, and make my notes and score it accordingly. So there's some pros and cons. That would be something we should definitely talk about if that's something you would like to see in curriculum one day, is some of these instruments that you all are frequently using in your upper division classes, with your students, if it's something you'd like to see. We can go there. Other libraries do this, and we could too, if it's something you need to do. But those are, yeah.
The cases,
Yeah.
is there a way really where you can kind of filter through, if you check mixed methods to come up with, 800 or 1,000, obviously you can filter along the right-hand side, but in terms of quality, do you have any basis of how they're picking those, what their rationale is for? Is it just pulled randomly from the SAGE databases, or does it explain how do they come up with these cases? I guess is my question.
That's a really good question. To me, what I've looked at, it just seems by topic. It's like we just want a case on.
It could be dissertations or
prisoners.
articles. Obviously, it's a very different type of read for the students, and maybe there's a purpose for both, but a lot of times.
I've seen it more heavy on the articles, personally, which is fine, because we could pull dissertations a whole different way than case. Yeah, but that's a good question. And I do like, with the cases, you can browse by academic level. So undergraduates looking at research, very different than, with, your students, doctoral students. So it breaks it out nicely, but it seems like more of a cursory, look at, here students, this is how you do qualitative research or something. For you all as faculty, I don't know that you all are going to learn anything new, but definitely these are things to embed in your coursework when you've explained the concept of a literature review 5 million times and they're just not getting it, or something, or to supplement what you're doing maybe a different way. So I think there's a lot of really good content here, and as we said in the beginning, if there's something you wish we had, to add in, and we don't have a good workaround, let us know, and maybe we can bump up that level. I'm sure SAGE Research Methods would love to sell us a higher level of access. So, any other things you're thinking about as you're looking at it? Do you see this as something you can use right now in your coursework? Or okay, excellent. Well, that's what. Yeah, I guess I'm so glad Kathy brought that up about the mental measurements yearbook. I think that would fold very nicely into a lesson with SAGE Research Methods, and to actually have them search and find, for their topic, what tests already exist and what those possibilities are.
So going back to the home page, and so we've got this search window where we can put either go through advanced or just basic searches, thinking about research, types of research. Again, it's not going to give us literature, but resources. And then we've got the book, or then down below, I want to. So we've got the little blue books that's qualitative, green books are quantitative, cutting edge books, cases. We don't really have access to data sets yet in this week. And then this project planner, but then we can also look by discipline, thinking about research in specific disciplines. So if you just select education, for example, it's, we were showing, and I'm sort of recapping, right? Because I'm thinking, okay, then what have I just learned? That we can, on that right side, we can select or deselect any number of things, and making reading lists for our students or ourselves, right? So I want to like create a reading list that deals just with quantitative things or qualitative things or grounded theory things or case studies or what have you that we can access, that we can get back to, or we can send them to our students, or so thinking about personal use but also instructional use. And like I don't know why, but I am a fan of video. I like to watch little video clips. That's really helpful to me. And there are some that we have access to, but there's a lot that we don't. So you might squeak about that if you find some that you think, wow, I could really use this in this class that I'm teaching. You know, we need more access. And I don't know what it takes, but if you do find things that there's not access to, maybe to make a note of it so we can begin to inquire about what it would take for us to have access and how it would benefit our students, you know, student success and all, right?
One thing I was wondering about was the lists you create. You may have said earlier, and I've forgotten you at this point, so I'm not thinking about it. Do I create the list and I share that, or can I embed a link in it, or they just say, hey, go search for my name on this research tab? I mean, is it...
I think you've got a variety of ways. I think it looks like, you know, you could have them search on your name, but you can also share it out. Sorry, I keep picking on focus groups here. So for like this one on academic writing, he has, you know, you've got the ability to embed it like a link if you liked, you know, so you've created that and you can embed your link. And it, like I said,
So you can embed that code, right? D2L, actually, just have it pop up that way.
Yeah, that'd be great.
and every time you're shooting your students to a library resource and it like rings that little ding, ding, you know, that little usage, so it helps us justify. And I would say too, with what you were saying is, if you send me an email and that I have something in writing like, oh my gosh, these College of Education faculty are screaming for these data sets, you know, please, Dean, give us these data, you know, like, you know, that would help. Yeah, it's okay. I told you to. Yeah. So, and talking to other faculty that you know that couldn't be here today, but that teach this type of content, that helps a lot. Is word of mouth. I mean, I can say something, but when you guys tell your colleagues here, hey, there's some really good stuff on Sage, then that helps.
So we
help our
should email
usage.
Karen Reed at NTSU.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please do.
But there's a lot of good stuff to use. I mean, it's not void of useful things, but we're going to come across things that man, I really wish I had that case study or that video or that data set. That would be really helpful in this course or in my own research or whatever.
And I don't know how they determine which videos to give with which package, but if you keep hitting a wall as you search on your topic and you keep seeing that little lock and like, boy, I wish I had that video. I've got this one, but I really could use that. That would help us too. I don't know why the access is such, but the data sets, just in showing other.
I am so enamored by the project planner. I just think there is such great information, like really things that like I didn't know that I need to know, that I really need to know. So I'm excited about, getting in that and really grounding myself better in some of this terminology that I think I've been taking for granted.
And it helps, and I think it's, I don't know, with my own children, I can tell them things over and over, but when they see it from a different source or to watch a video clip or, you know, somehow it sticks. But I was just going to offer this, since we don't have data sets, the education.gov, their data. I've played around on that, you know, some of the student demographics data, just to get like a data, you know, just to have something to pull and be able to manipulate and practice. I just think students need practice.
That would be good for our ALSI courses, summer work that we're,
Yeah, definitely.
And there's all kinds of goodies out there.
Glad you threw it down.
Well,
Anybody else have questions you want to ask? And we can give you time to, we'd like to have a little play time to sort of explore and then ask questions too. You'll see on the board up there, we're collecting your feedback as it relates to our lunch and learns to help us understand, the usefulness and if you are inspired to use what you're learning, as well as there are questions about if you would be willing to host a lunch and learn, like if there's a particular technology application or way that you're using technology innovatively, or maybe even in a regular way, that you think could help us, we would really like to learn from you. And it helps if you put the survey's anonymous, but if you do fill it out and you have something you want to share, I won't know if you don't put your name in that same space. Or also, you know what, I'd like to know more about, I'd like to learn, like when Kevin did his Nearpod training, someone commented, I'd like to have Nearpod 2.0, I want the next level of Nearpod. And so we're going to hit him up for that after the holidays and next semester. So feel free to include that information so we know. And this is like selfish, like I know what I want to learn about, but there may be things that you guys want to know about too.
What's the name of this section?
This is SAGE Research Methods.
Okay.
SAGE Research Methods. So you can go to that tinyurl.com / what that says.
well, and related to that too, it was just technology. I had a session on NVivo like a month ago, and Kevin Donald came, and it was, and I mean, I've used NVivo a lot, but I don't know, maybe there's a newer product. Let us know, and that's, at the library we are searching for, to keep up. So if there's a better qualitative tool, for example, or what, I mean, we know some things, but or we like to do trainings too. So I'm so glad to come over and talk to you about SAGE research methods. The more we get it out there, I mean, if you don't know it, it's there, you can't use it. So let us know what you're looking for that help in your instruction.
We're doing Eric and Amy and Seth are going to do a session on hierarchical linear modeling, which deals with having nested data sets. So if you're thinking about schools where you're studying different classes within a school or across schools, that we need to be thinking about this way of analyzing data.
I'm just going to ask a quick follow-up. Do you know, so SPSS won't do HLM. Do we have software that does? Are you aware of the library, whether or not it has, HLM is not something SPSS does. There's its own software to run it. I forget the name for it. But
SAS, I think.
SAS maybe runs it? Okay, I don't know. There's something else that they could have too, but SAS, okay. Do we have SAS? No.
You don't.
Either way, we'll see what they have to share for it.
And it's going to be like this, the session that they're going to do is, it's probably going to knock us over because it's, I said, just give us the abstract of it. Because it's very, very complicated, but just inform us of the kind of information that we need to be thinking about. Not that we're going to go write code for this or that we're going to be doing this mathematically ourselves, but that we need to be thinking about when we're reading research, if it has HLM, or should it be using HLM? Is that a flaw in this research? Or if we're conducting research, is this something we need to be thinking about in terms of how we should be thinking about our data and analyzing it? So it's going to be any idiot, I can do this. I can understand. Hopefully that's the version we're going to get. That's what I've asked for. So anyway, well, and anybody else have questions? Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you.